I'm Chung Kyung Kim Suk, a 15-year Google veteran who moved to Silicon Valley at 50, and I somewhat regret revealing my age in the title of this talk. As you can see, though it might be hard to believe, I'm actually over 50. And though it may be even harder to believe, I never once served as class president, vice president, or even line leader throughout elementary, middle, and high school. But there's something else that people absolutely refuse to believe. Until I was 28, I was an extremely timid person with a AAA blood type. So much so that I couldn't say a single word, not just in class, but even in small group gatherings. Hard to believe, right? Currently, I work as a director at Google's headquarters in the global communications team, which is known for having the most eloquent speakers and best writers among native English speakers. Not long after I joined Google, there was a Google Women's Leadership Conference. About 300 female leaders from Google around the world gathered at this event. At that time, 4 female executives stood on stage. The moderator asked a question. Do you have any plans for 10 years after? Having just joined Google, I was really curious about this too. But one executive, with complete confidence and innocence, simply said, of course in English, I don't have one. Then the next executive said the same thing, and then the next 2. So I was like, what's going on? Are these successful female executives at Google saying they don't have any future plans at all? But what surprised me even more was that they weren't embarrassed about it at all. I was completely shocked. And as time went by, I found myself, 10 years later, in a position I had never planned for. I never imagined I would be working at Google's headquarters in the global communications team. Do you know what the average retirement age is in Korea?
It is 49.3?
Yes, it's 49.3. But I came to Silicon Valley when I was 50. And what I realized was that the reason those female executives answered that they had no plans wasn't because they were being careless, but because of their flexibility toward change. And because they were always keeping in mind the possibility of expanding their career in the future. And in an environment that grows and changes rapidly, what you want to do can also change at any time. So it also means that we should always be open to new plans. However, even if you don't have a plan, you still need to have a few principles. 3 years ago, that would be 2019. In February 2019, hundreds of Googlers in charge of global communications gathered together for an internal conference. On the last day of the conference, the VP in charge of global communications, the executive vice president, held a Q&A session. At that time, I proposed an idea I had been thinking about for a while. There needs to be someone at headquarters in the US dedicated to handling international media. And also, there should be someone who connects the communications teams in each country with the US headquarters. Someone who serves as a bridge in the middle. I proposed that idea, and exactly 3 weeks later, that position was created. To be honest, when I suggested that idea, I never imagined I would end up taking that role myself. My proposal was actually accepted. I was so happy about that alone. After the conference, I immediately left for my summer vacation. But while I was on vacation, I started wondering, should I have at least expressed some interest or asked about it? So I made a phone call. There was a hiring director, so I said, I'm interested, but the position doesn't quite match my level, so... And then the director said, wait, Lois, you were interested? If you were, we can broaden the scope and you can take on a bigger role as a director. You can bring people in and hire them, right? And, to my amazement, the hiring was confirmed just like that. But once it was finalized, all sorts of thoughts started pulling at me. I'm already 50 years old. Am I really going to go to a completely new place and start from scratch without a single team member? Is this really the right thing to do? On top of that, international communication is a position where even native English speakers struggle. Can I, a native Korean, really do well? What if I go there for nothing? And just end up embarrassing myself, leaving only a stain on my 30-year career? These thoughts made me anxious and afraid, and my confidence plummeted. At that time, the words that gave me courage were from the actress who played Princess Leia in the movie Star Wars. She said, you may be afraid, but just try it anyway. The important thing is to take action. You don't have to wait until you feel confident. Just do it. Once you start, confidence will follow. And also, when my juniors said to me, "Oh, Lois, you really create your own opportunities. I've never seen anyone do that before," those words gave me a lot of courage. At internal Google events where hundreds of people gather, the host will often say, "Raise your hand if you used to be an athlete. Please stand up." That's what they say. Then usually a handful of people will stand up. There are school representatives, state representatives, and sometimes even quite a few national athletes who have competed in the Olympics. What's really fascinating is that in Korea, people who are athletes usually continue in sports-related fields, but these people have changed their careers and are continuing their professional lives inside Google. And when you go on business trips, Googlers are really passionate about exercising. They go out running in the morning, do yoga, and even though they work late into the night, I know for a fact that they do. That's how impressive the physical stamina of Googlers is. Up until your mid-30s, you can get by just on grit and sheer willpower. Is there anyone like that here? Even if you don't really take care of your health, things somehow keep working out? But with irregular daily routines, back-to-back late nights at work, and the stress you get from your boss or your job, in those cases, your body knows first. When you come to the office, you can't give 100% of your focus. Naturally, your work efficiency drops as well. Of course, we all know that we should exercise. But it's really not easy to keep up with regular exercise. So in my case, I chose fun or less common types of exercise. When I turned 40 over 10 years ago, at an age when most people start worrying about osteoporosis, I started practicing kendo. Every morning, I would open the doors to the kendo dojo and practice. I did this for 10 years, and I even achieved 4th Dan in kendo. Everyone calls me Master. Now, I've been practicing kendo for 14 years, even here in the United States. But people around me often ask, "What kind of exercise do you do?" I say, "Oh, I do kendo." And then everyone's eyes widen with interest. Even if I meet them again 6 months later, they ask, "Oh, are you still doing kendo?" Because it leaves such a strong impression, it actually helps me keep exercising consistently. But you might think I could do something different just by picking up chopsticks. But even though I have a 4th degree black belt in kendo, I'm actually not that good at it. My nickname is Lightning Strike. Do you know why? It would be great if it was because I attack as fast as lightning and score points, but actually I'm only beaten as fast as lightning. Every time when I'm in a match. Yes. Still, even though I'm called Lightning Strike, I really enjoy participating in various tournaments. District tournaments, Seoul City tournaments, national tournaments, and now, in the US, the Northern California tournaments where I currently live. Is there anyone here who runs or plays badminton? Honestly, it's not easy to rank among the top in badminton or running within 10,000 at national level. But you can make it into the top 100. I think I've probably made it into the top 100 before. One concept I brought with me today is the heliotropic effect. This refers to how plants grow toward the light, like sunflowers. We call this the heliotropic effect. In fact, people are the same. We tend to gather around colleagues who have positive energy and a vibrant spirit, don't we? I've come to believe that the creativity possessed by positive Googlers and the source of children's creativity as well comes from this kind of healthy and positive energy and from the competence that radiates it. Recently, I published a book and someone gave me another nickname. They called me an energy power plant. Physical strength is truly, truly important. Please invest your time and effort into it. So, in my early 30s, I started running. I also practiced kendo, ran full marathons, went snowboarding, did inline skating, went trekking, went backpacking. Just talking about it makes me out of breath. Most recently, at the age of 50, I mastered swimming. But I have one more hobby. Can you guess what it is? I'm a collector. A collector. Can you guess what I collect? I collect academic degrees. But I don't collect them for the sake of building up my resume. It just so happened that I ended up attending 5 different graduate programs for my master's and doctorate degrees. So I attended an MBA business school, a graduate school of journalism and public relations, a graduate school of e-business management, a graduate school of policy, and also pursued a doctoral program in digital culture policy. And now, after coming to the United States, I'm also taking a 2-year Chief Communication Officer or CCO program. Whenever I take on something new, I always wonder, can I really do this? But instead of doubting myself, I just think I can always study and learn it. It's not that I finish studying before I start working. I learn as I work, and then I apply what I've learned to my job. Have any of you here ever felt this way? Like you're slowly draining your abilities and energy, just like taking small amounts of money out of a piggy bank. The company's sales grew by 20%, so why am I still the same? That kind of feeling. If you ever feel this way, you need to replenish yourself by learning. Growth doesn't just happen automatically because you're good at your job. This kind of energy depletion, a burnout, or the sense of helplessness, bore out, these things are unavoidable in working life. So what I suggest is, even if it's not graduate school, I recommend creating your own system for replenishing yourself. Now let me summarize 3 principles that help expand our careers. First, take action. Physical strength is also a skill. Replenish yourself through learning. But there's something that makes these 3 things sustainable. That is a daily routine. It's the power of a consistent routine. I've been practicing Kendo for 14 years now, and whether it was when I first started Kendo, or when I became a first Dan, or even when testing for the highest rank in Kendo, which is 8th Dan, the thing that remains the same is called Yongkyuk, meaning a head strike. Is there anyone here who has tried Kendo? Both first dans and 8th dan masters perform the head strike. However, it's completely different. The way a first dan does it is just so-so, but the head strike of an 8th dan master who has practiced for 30 years is truly different. That's how something ordinary becomes extraordinary, into something truly special. That is the power of daily practice, the power of a daily routine. Over the past 30 years, the expansion of my career has been sustained endlessly through such routines. I created a position that didn't exist as a director at Google headquarters, and I've written books like this one, titled Let's Keep Going, Extra Stamina is All We Have. When I told my child about the title, they said, "Mom, you're the only one that's got extra stamina." I hope we can all have some extra stamina. This book is about how I overcame complete burnout at work, the helplessness of bore out, and these days what's called brownout, where you can't find meaning in what you do. It's also about how I've steadily grown my career and my life at my own pace. Even now, there are countless times when I can't understand English and just want to tear my ears off. I listen to English audiobooks for 3 or 4 hours a day while running. By listening to about 70 English audiobooks a year, I can understand just a little bit now. If you keep building up these small successes day by day and believe in the power of the time and effort you consistently invest, before you know it, your life will have grown that much bigger. What I would like to suggest you to try together with me ultimately is this infinite expansion of life. What do you say? Thank you.